There's a war happening right now that will determine the future of every dollar in your bank account. Not a war with guns or tanks, a currency war. And the two sides couldn't be more different. On one side, the Biden administration is laying the groundwork for a central bank digital currency, a programmable dollar that tracks every transaction, expires if not spent, and can be frozen with a keystroke. On the other side, Trump is positioning himself as the champion of sound money, embracing Bitcoin, talking about returning to gold backing, and promising to end the Fed's control over your wealth. This isn't just campaign rhetoric. This is about who controls the most powerful weapon in modern economics, the ability to create, destroy, and control money. Because here's what most Americans don't understand. Presidents don't need Congress to reshape the monetary system. They have emergency powers, executive orders, agencies they control, the Federal Reserve that answers to political pressure, and 110 years of precedent showing that when it comes to money, the president is a dictator. Roosevelt confiscated gold with an executive order in 1933. No congressional vote, no debate, just a decree. Nixon ended the gold standard in 1971. No congressional approval, a televised announcement on a Sunday night. And in 2025, whoever wins the next election will use that same unilateral power to reshape the dollar into their vision, a digital surveillance currency, or a return to hard money. The stakes have never been higher. And most Americans have no idea this war is even happening. Let me show you exactly what each side is planning, the legal powers they already have to implement it without your permission, the historical precedent proving they'll use those powers, who profits, and who gets destroyed under each scenario, and why the BRICS nations are forcing America's hand whether we like it or not. Because this isn't a political documentary. This is a survival guide. Your money, your savings, your retirement, everything depends on understanding who wins this currency war. And the decision gets made in November. Before I show you what Biden and Trump are planning, you need to understand the powers they have. Because the Constitution says Congress controls money. Article 1, Section 8, Congress shall have power to coin money and regulate the value thereof. But in practice, the president controls money, not through the Constitution, through emergency powers granted by Congress over the last century. 3 laws give the president dictatorial control over currency. First, the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917, passed during World War I to regulate trade with enemy nations. But Section 5B grants the president power to regulate any transactions in foreign exchange, transfers of credit, and the importing, exporting, hoarding, or earmarking of gold or silver. This is the law Roosevelt used to confiscate gold in 1933. Courts upheld it. The precedent is clear. During declared emergencies, the president can prohibit gold ownership, freeze bank accounts, and control currency transactions. Second, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977, IEEPA. This allows the president to declare a national emergency and then regulate any property or transaction involving foreign interests. Sounds narrow. It's not. Nearly every financial transaction today has some international component. Cryptocurrency traded globally, stocks sold to foreign investors, dollars held in accounts accessible internationally. IEEPA reaches everything. Every president, since Carter, has used it. Trump used it dozens of times for sanctions. Biden used it to freeze Russian assets. It's normalized. Third, the National Emergencies Act of 1976. This codifies emergency powers and requires congressional review. But, in practice, it rubber stamps presidential authority. Once the president declares an emergency, over 130 statutory powers activate automatically. These include freezing assets, restricting banking, controlling currency, and seizing property. Congress can vote to terminate the emergency, but the president can veto. You need 2/3 to override. That's never happened. Every emergency declared since 1976 has lasted as long as the president wanted. Some emergencies from the 1970s are still active today. These 3 laws mean the president can, during a declared emergency, and the president decides what constitutes an emergency, freeze your bank accounts, prohibit cryptocurrency ownership, confiscate gold, implement a digital currency, and restrict your financial transactions. No congressional vote needed. Just an executive order. This is the power both Biden and Trump have. The question is how they'll use it. Now let me show you Biden's vision. The digital dollar. A central bank digital currency, CBDC. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is official policy. In March 2022, Biden signed Executive Order 14067, ensuring responsible development of digital assets. The order directed federal agencies to research and develop a framework for a U.S. CBDC. The language is careful. It talks about modernizing the financial system, inclusion for the unbanked, competing with China's digital yuan. But read between the lines, this is about control. The order tasked the Treasury, Federal Reserve, and Commerce Department with producing reports on CBDC implementation. Those reports were delivered in September 2022. The Federal Reserve's report laid out the technical requirements for a digital dollar. The Treasury's report emphasized the national security benefits of tracking all transactions. The Commerce Department's report discussed how to transition Americans from cash to digital currency. All 3 reports concluded a CBDC is feasible, desirable, and coming. But what is a CBDC? It's not just digital money. We already have that. When you swipe a credit card, that's digital. A CBDC is different. It's a digital currency issued directly by the Federal Reserve, bypassing commercial banks. Instead of having an account at Chase or Bank of America, You'd have an account at the Fed. Every transaction you make flows through Fed servers, every purchase recorded in a Fed database, forever. Real-time visibility into the entire economy's transactions. And here's the key difference from current digital money. A CBDC is programmable. The government can code restrictions directly into the currency. Your digital dollars could be programmed to expire if not spent by a certain date, forcing consumption during recessions. They could be restricted from certain purchases. No guns, no alcohol, no unapproved political donations. They could be geographically limited. Can't spend outside your home state without permission. They could be linked to social credit scores. Good citizens get full access. Dissidents get restricted wallets. This isn't hypothetical. China's digital yuan already does all of this. The Biden administration's stated justification is financial inclusion. About 5% of American households don't have bank accounts. A CBDC would give them digital wallets without needing to qualify for traditional banking. That sounds good. But here's the darker reality. A CBDC allows the government to see and control every transaction in the economy. Tax evasion becomes impossible. The IRS sees every dollar you receive in real time. Underground economy disappears. Every babysitter, every garage sale, every cash tip tracked and taxable. Dissidents can be frozen out of the economy. Donate to the wrong political candidate, account restricted, attend the wrong protest, transactions flagged. This is social control through monetary control. Who benefits from Biden's digital dollar? First, the government. Total visibility into the economy means total tax collection. The IRS estimates $600 billion in unpaid taxes annually. With CBDC, that drops to near zero. Every transaction taxable, every dollar tracked, government revenue soars. Second, big banks benefit, surprisingly. You'd think CBDCs would eliminate banks, but the Federal Reserve can't manage 150 million consumer accounts. They'll contract with JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo to provide front-end services. Banks become government contractors with guaranteed fees. They lose some lending power but gain stable income. Third, surveillance companies profit. Palantir, Booz Allen Hamilton, defense contractors who specialize in data analysis. The Fed will need AI to analyze trillions of transactions looking for suspicious patterns. These companies will build those systems. Every transaction you make feeds their algorithms. Privacy is their profit model. Fourth, politically connected elites benefit. Those with advanced knowledge of CBDC implementation can position before the public, move assets before restrictions hit, exploit information asymmetry. This is how power works. The connected always profit from major system changes. Who loses under Biden's CBDC? Privacy advocates lose everything. Every transaction tracked. Financial anonymity dies. The government knows where you shop, what you buy, who you pay, who pays you. This is surveillance capitalism on steroids. The unbanked, ironically, might lose, despite being the stated beneficiaries. CBDCs require internet access and smartphones. If you don't have those, you're excluded. The supposed solution for financial inclusion excludes the most marginalized. Cash users lose. As CBDCs roll out, cash gets phased out. It's not banned outright, just made increasingly impractical. Fewer ATMs, fewer businesses accept it. Within a decade, cash is effectively dead. If you preferred cash for privacy, too bad. Cryptocurrency users lose. The government won't ban Bitcoin directly. But CBDC implementation will come with regulations for crypto. Exchanges heavily regulated, stablecoins banned as competition, self-custody taxed or prohibited. The government won't say crypto is illegal. They'll say, for your protection, all crypto must be held in regulated accounts with KYC and reporting. Same effect. Crypto becomes just another tracked asset. The middle class loses freedom. Your money in a Fed account means the Fed controls your spending. Inflation pushing prices up 10%. The Fed programs your dollars to lose value if not spent, forcing you to consume. You can't save. You can't opt out. You're trapped in the system with diminishing purchasing power and zero privacy. Now let me show you Trump's vision. The opposite approach. Trump has positioned himself as the anti-CBDC, pro-Bitcoin, pro-gold candidate. In campaign speeches throughout 2023 and 2024, Trump attacked CBDCs as government surveillance and un-American. He's promised to ban CBDCs if elected. He's embraced cryptocurrency, becoming the first major presidential candidate to accept Bitcoin donations. He's spoken at Bitcoin conferences, and he's talked about returning to sound money, which in his rhetoric includes both gold backing and crypto adoption. Trump's vision is decentralization, not a Fed-controlled digital dollar, but competing currencies. Let the market choose. Bitcoin, gold-backed money, private stablecoins, let them compete with Fed dollars. The best money wins. This is Austrian economics, sound money philosophy that says government monopoly on money is the root of all economic problems. Inflation, booms and busts, wealth inequality, all stem from government control of currency. Remove that control, let money be chosen by free markets, and prosperity follows. Trump's advisors reinforce this vision. Judy Shelton, who Trump tried to appoint to the Federal Reserve Board, has written extensively about returning to gold-backed currency. She argues the current fiat system enables deficit spending that destroys savings and creates boom-bust cycles. Robert Lighthizer, Trump's former trade representative, believes the current monetary system favors China and hurts American workers. Steve Bannon has called for economic nationalism, including sound money. These aren't fringe voices. These are Trump's closest economic advisors, and they all oppose Fed control and support gold crypto alternatives. But here's where Trump's vision gets complicated. He talks about ending the Fed's power. But how? You can't just eliminate the Federal Reserve. It's codified in law since 1913. You'd need Congress to repeal the Federal Reserve Act. That's not happening. Even if Republicans control Congress, the financial industry would fight it. So Trump's actual plan is likely more subtle, not ending the Fed, but constraining it. Appointing Fed chairs who support gold backing, executive orders that encourage crypto adoption, treasury bonds issued that are convertible to gold, a gradual undermining of Fed monopoly rather than direct elimination. And there's a Trump wildcard that makes his approach unpredictable, his history of changing positions. In his first term, Trump appointed Jerome Powell as Fed chair, a conventional central banker. Trump criticized Bitcoin during his presidency, calling it a scam. Now he's pro-Bitcoin. Trump's positions shift based on political advantage. So while his current rhetoric is anti-CBDC and pro-gold crypto, there's risk his actual policy would be different. He might implement CBDC, but call it something else. Trump bucks. Freedom dollars. Rebrand government digital currency as patriotic. This is the uncertainty with Trump. Rhetoric versus reality often diverge. Who benefits under Trump's vision? Bitcoin holders benefit massively. If Trump bans CBDCs and encourages crypto, Bitcoin becomes the de facto alternative to Fed dollars. Demand soars. Price could hit 200K or higher. Early Bitcoin adopters become extremely wealthy. Gold holders benefit. If Trump pushes gold-backed treasury bonds or a partial gold standard, gold revalues higher. Current price $1,700 could go to $5,000, $10,000 if gold becomes monetary metal again. People with gold see wealth multiply. Libertarians and privacy advocates win. A Trump administration hostile to CBDCs and supportive of crypto means financial privacy survives. You can still transact anonymously in Bitcoin. You can hold assets outside government surveillance. Freedom preserved. The crypto industry wins. Exchanges, developers, miners, all benefit from friendly regulation. Instead of being strangled by compliance costs, they can innovate. America becomes the global crypto hub instead of pushing it offshore. States' rights advocates win. If Trump's approach is decentralization, states could issue their own currencies or back currencies with commodities. Texas Gold Depository, Florida state cryptocurrency. This returns monetary power to states, weakening federal control. Who loses under Trump? The Federal Reserve loses power. If Trump appoints hostile Fed board members and encourages alternatives to Fed dollars, the Fed's monopoly erodes. Central bankers hate this. They'll fight back. Big government loses. Without CBDC tracking every transaction, tax evasion continues. The underground economy survives. Government can't collect maximum revenue. Deficit spending becomes harder to finance. This forces spending cuts or tax increases, both politically painful. Welfare state defenders lose. The current system runs on deficit spending. The Fed prints money, government spends. Without Fed monopoly, this becomes harder. You can't print Bitcoin. You can't print gold. Sound money means balanced budgets. Entitlements would need to be cut or taxes raised dramatically. This hurts those dependent on government spending. China potentially loses. If America embraces crypto and gold while China pushes digital yuan, America maintains a monetary innovation edge. China's CBDC becomes isolated. The dollar's replacement gets delayed. China's rise slows. Now let me show you the historical precedent. Because presidential control over money isn't new, it's happened 3 times in the last century, and each time the president acted unilaterally. 1913, the Federal Reserve Act. This one was congressional. President Woodrow Wilson signed the act on December 23, 1913, creating the Federal Reserve. But here's the key. The American public was against it. The legislation passed during Christmas recess when most congressmen were home. The vote was rushed, minimal debate. Wilson himself later said, "I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country." Whether that quote is real is debated, but the sentiment reflects the controversy. The Fed was created not through democratic will, but through legislative maneuvering. And once created, the Fed became the 4th branch of government. Unelected, unaccountable, controlling money supply. This is the origin of presidential monetary power. The Fed technically independent, but the president appoints the chair and board members. Political control disguised as independence. 1933, Roosevelt's gold confiscation. Executive Order 6102, issued April 5, 1933. Roosevelt, facing the Great Depression, declared a banking emergency and ordered all Americans to surrender gold to the Federal Reserve at $20.67 per ounce. Hold gold and face $10,000 fine and 10 years in prison. This was confiscation. No congressional vote, just executive decree under emergency powers. The justification: hoarding gold was preventing monetary expansion needed to fight deflation. Americans complied. Millions of ounces flowed to the Fed. Then Roosevelt revalued gold to $35 per ounce, a 69% devaluation of the dollar. The government stole wealth from citizens who surrendered gold at $20 and immediately declared it worth $35. This is the blueprint for modern wealth seizure. Declare emergency, confiscate assets, revalue, transfer wealth from citizens to government. Legal, constitutional. Devastating. 1971, Nixon ends gold convertibility. On August 15th, 1971, Nixon went on television and announced the U.S. would no longer convert dollars to gold. The Bretton Woods system, established in 1944, had made the dollar the reserve currency backed by gold at $35 per ounce. Foreign governments could redeem dollars for gold, but by 1971, the U.S. had printed far more dollars than it had gold. France was demanding gold. The game was up. Nixon unilaterally ended gold backing. No congressional vote, no international agreement, just a televised announcement. The dollar became pure fiat currency, backed by nothing except government decree. This was the most consequential monetary decision in modern history, and one man made it. The precedent is absolute. Presidents control money. These three moments prove the pattern. Monetary control is executive, not legislative. When crisis comes, the president acts unilaterally, uses emergency powers, reshapes the system, and courts and Congress rubber stamp it. This is how Biden could implement CBDC, or Trump could return to gold, not through democratic process, through executive action justified by emergency. Now, let me show you the geopolitical dimension. Because the Biden versus Trump currency war isn't happening in a vacuum. It's happening in the context of BRICS nations explicitly trying to destroy dollar dominance. And this external threat is forcing America's hand. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, expanded in 2024 to include Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iran, Egypt, and Ethiopia. 9 countries representing 45% of global population, 36% of global GDP, and 42% of global oil production. At the 2023 Johannesburg Summit, BRICS announced plans for a common currency backed by gold and commodities. This currency would be used for international trade among BRICS nations, bypassing the dollar entirely. Why does this matter? Because the dollar's power comes from being the global reserve currency. Countries need dollars to buy oil, to trade internationally, to hold reserves. This creates structural dollar demand. The U.S. can print money and export inflation because foreigners need to hold dollars. But if BRICS creates an alternative, that demand disappears. Countries trade oil in BRICS currency, hold BRICS currency as reserves, dollar demand falls. The U.S. can no longer print unlimited money. Deficits become impossible to finance. Living standards fall, American power collapses. This is an existential threat, and both Biden and Trump see it. But they have opposite responses. Biden's response is the CBDC. If China launches a digital yuan and BRICS launches a gold-backed currency, America needs a competitive digital dollar. Biden's team believes a CBDC can maintain dollar dominance through technological superiority and integration with the global financial system. Make the digital dollar so efficient, so integrated, that countries prefer it despite surveillance concerns. This is fighting technology with technology. Trump's response is gold and Bitcoin. If BRICS backs their currency with gold, America should return to gold backing, but not through government control, through free market competition. Let gold-backed dollars, Bitcoin, and other alternatives compete. Trump's philosophy: the market will choose the best money. And American innovation in crypto beats Chinese government digital currency. This is fighting centralization with decentralization. Both strategies have merit. Both have risks. Biden's CBDC could work if implemented well and if other countries adopt compatible systems. But it requires trust in the dollar system, which is eroding. Trump's gold crypto strategy could work if markets genuinely prefer hard money to fiat. But it requires dismantling decades of Fed power, which entrenched interests will fight. The reality is, BRICS is forcing a decision. America cannot maintain the status quo. The current fiat dollar system is losing credibility. Countries are diversifying reserves. The petrodollar is dying. Saudi Arabia accepting yuan for oil broke the 50-year monopoly. Within a decade, the dollar could lose reserve status entirely. When that happens, America's $36 trillion debt becomes unpayable. Interest rates spike. The government can't borrow. Economic collapse follows. So America must act. Either implement CBDC to maintain technological edge, or return to hard money to restore trust. Doing nothing is not an option. And whoever wins in 2024, Biden or Trump, will make this choice. Now let me show you the currency war playbook, the step-by-step process either administration would follow to implement their vision. Biden's CBDC playbook. Step 1, declare a financial emergency. This could be a banking crisis, commercial real estate collapse, or BRICS currency launch that triggers dollar panic. The president addresses the nation. America faces an unprecedented financial threat. Foreign adversaries are undermining the dollar. We must act immediately. Emergency declared under IEEPA. Step 2, launch pilot program. The Fed announces a CBDC pilot in select cities: New York, San Francisco, Chicago. Citizens incentivized to adopt with sign-up bonuses. Get $500 free when you open a Fed account. Businesses get tax credits for accepting digital dollars. The pilot runs 18 months testing infrastructure. Step 3, mandate government payments in CBDC. All Social Security, Medicare, tax refunds, government salaries, paid in digital dollars. You can convert to cash, but why would you? Digital is instant and free. Step 4, phase out cash. Not banned, but made impractical. Fewer ATMs, banks charge fees for cash services, businesses reluctant to accept. Within 5 years, cash under 5% of transactions. Step 5, expand CBDC globally. Partner with allies to create interoperable digital currencies. Dollar CBDC, Euro CBDC, Yen CBDC, all integrated. This becomes the Western answer to BRICS. Timeline, 3 to 5 years from emergency declaration to full implementation. Trump's gold crypto playbook. Step 1, declare economic sovereignty emergency. America's monetary system has been hijacked by unelected bureaucrats. We're taking back control. Step 2, executive order banning CBDC development. No federal agency shall create or implement a central bank digital currency without explicit congressional authorization. This kills Biden's progress. Step 3, encourage crypto adoption. Treasury issues bonds that pay interest in Bitcoin. States allowed to hold crypto in reserves. Regulatory clarity for exchanges. Capital gains tax eliminated for crypto held over 5 years. Crypto becomes mainstream. Step 4, issue gold-backed treasury bonds. Liberty bonds, convertible to gold at fixed rates. This doesn't return to a full gold standard, but creates a gold-backed alternative to pure fiat. Investors can choose fiat treasuries or gold-backed treasuries. Step 5, appoint sound money Fed chair. Replace Powell with Judy Shelton or similar. Fed policy shifts toward hard money, reduced money printing, possibly partial gold backing. Timeline. Trump would start immediately upon taking office. Could have executive orders ready to sign day 1. Major changes visible within first year. Both playbooks bypass Congress. Both use executive power. Both rely on emergency declarations. This is the reality of modern monetary policy. Presidents act, Congress and courts follow. Now, let me show you what each outcome means for different groups, because the currency war will create winners and losers across every segment of society. Banks under Biden CBDC. Big banks survive by becoming government contractors. JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo provide front-end CBDC services for fees. They lose some lending power but gain stability. Small community banks get destroyed. They can't compete with free Fed accounts. Deposits flee to the Fed. Small banks close or get acquired. Banking consolidates further into 2 big-to-fail institutions. Banks under Trump, gold, crypto. Big banks hate this. Gold backing limits their leverage. They can't create money through fractional reserve lending as easily. Profits fall. Some banks fail if they can't adapt. But new crypto-friendly banks emerge. Banks that custody Bitcoin, offer crypto services, these thrive. The banking industry fractures into old banks declining and new crypto banks rising. Crypto investors under Biden. Crypto gets regulated into submission, not banned, but controlled. Exchanges require full KYC, every transaction reported to IRS. Self-custody taxed is suspicious, and stablecoins banned as CBDC competition. Bitcoin survives, but becomes just another tracked asset. Price likely stagnates or falls as use cases disappear. Early crypto adopters see gains taxed heavily. Crypto investors under Trump, this is the golden age. Bitcoin becomes legitimate alternative to Fed dollars. Institutional adoption accelerates. Price could 10x. Ethereum, Solana, other platforms benefit from regulatory clarity. Crypto developers move to America instead of fleeing. Crypto holders become extremely wealthy, but volatility continues. No guarantees. Middle-class savers under Biden lose privacy and control. Your $50,000 in savings moves from Bank of America to a Fed account. The Fed sees every transaction. If CBDC has expiring money features, during recession, your dollars lose value unless spent. You're forced to consume instead of save. Inflation at 5 to 7% erodes purchasing power. CBDC doesn't protect you. It accelerates your wealth decline. Middle-class savers under Trump depends on implementation. If Trump succeeds in constraining the Fed and inflation falls, savers benefit from stable purchasing power. If gold backing restores dollar strength, your savings maintain value. But transition could be chaotic. Initial deflation could cause recession. Unemployment rises, your savings preserve value, but your income disappears if you lose your job. Double-edged sword. Retirees under Biden. CBDC doesn't directly hurt retirees. Social Security paid in digital dollars works fine. But if CBDC enables more money printing and inflation stays high, fixed incomes erode. $50,000 annual Social Security buys less each year. Inflation is the hidden tax on retirees. CBDC doesn't cause inflation directly, but enables the deficits that cause it. Retirees under Trump. Sound money helps retirees. If inflation falls to 2%, fixed incomes maintain purchasing power. But transition to hard money might require austerity. Social Security cuts, Medicare cuts. To balance budgets under gold standard, entitlements must be cut or taxes raised. Retirees could face benefit reductions. Tough choice. Stable currency or stable benefits. Might not get both. The wealthy and connected under either scenario. They win. Always. Under Biden CBDC, the wealthy get advanced knowledge. They position before implementation. They move assets to avoid restrictions. They profit from government contracts building the system. Under Trump gold crypto, the wealthy buy gold and Bitcoin before revaluation. When gold goes from $2,700 to $10,000, they triple their wealth. The connected always get the information first and profit from change. This is constant across both scenarios. Now let me show you the shock moments. How fast government can freeze or seize wealth. Because emergency powers aren't theoretical, they're ready to deploy. In 1933, Roosevelt confiscated gold in 6 weeks. April 5th executive order. May 1st deadline for surrender. From announcement to completion, 6 weeks. In 2022, the U.S. froze $300 billion in Russian reserves in 48 hours. February 24th, Russia invaded Ukraine. February 26th, reserves frozen. 2 days. In March 2020, the Fed launched $4 trillion in emergency programs in 3 weeks. Markets crashed March 9, 23. By mid-April, the Fed was buying corporate bonds, municipal bonds, treasuries, everything. 3 weeks from crisis to intervention. The pattern is clear. When government decides to act on monetary policy, it acts fast. Hours to days, not months, not years. By the time you realize what's happening, your assets are already frozen, your account restricted, your gold confiscated. This is why positioning before the crisis is critical. Once it starts, you're trapped. Example scenario under Biden. December 2025. BRICS officially launches gold-backed currency. Saudi Arabia announces it will accept BRICS currency for oil. The dollar plunges 10% in 1 day. Markets panic. By Monday morning, Biden declares a financial emergency under IEPA. By Tuesday, emergency regulations announced. All digital asset transactions over $10,000 must be reported to Treasury within 24 hours. Cryptocurrency exchanges ordered to freeze withdrawals pending new regulations. By Wednesday, CBDC pilot announced. Americans encouraged to open Fed accounts to protect their savings. By the following Monday, 1 week from crisis start, new system is operational. Your crypto frozen. Your bank account transitioned to Fed supervision. Your ability to move money restricted. 1 week. Example, scenario under Trump. January 2026. Trump inaugurated. Day 1, signs executive order banning CBDC and declaring America will return to sound money principles. Markets cheer. Bitcoin surges. But by March, implementation problems emerge. Banks resist. The Fed fights back. Powell refuses to resign. Trump can't fire him. Fed chair has 4-year term. Standoff. By June, Trump declares economic emergency, invoking trading with the Enemy Act. Orders Treasury to issue gold-backed bonds. Fed chair Powell taken to court to force compliance. Constitutional crisis. Markets crash on uncertainty. Your 401k down 30%. But if you positioned in gold and Bitcoin before inauguration, you're up 50%, 2 months from inauguration to chaos. But early movers profit. These scenarios aren't predictions. They're possibilities based on historical precedent. The point is, speed. Government moves fast. By the time mainstream media explains what's happening, it's over. Your window to act is before the crisis, not during. So what do? How do you position for the currency war regardless of who wins? First, diversify across both scenarios. Don't bet everything on Biden's CBDC or Trump gold, or crypto. Hedge. Hold some gold in case Trump wins and gold revalues. Hold some Bitcoin in case Trump wins and crypto booms. Hold some cash in case Biden wins and you need liquidity during transition. Hold some stocks and quality companies that survive either scenario. Diversification protects against being wrong about the winner. Second, reduce exposure to pure dollars. Long-term bonds, cash savings over $250,000 FDIC limits, anything that's pure dollar denominated. These are vulnerable in both scenarios. Under Biden CBDC, they get transitioned to digital dollars you don't control. Under Trump gold backing, they get devalued as dollars strengthen initially, but then inflated as transition causes chaos. Either way, pure dollars are risky. Third, own hard assets. Real estate you control, productive farmland, businesses that generate cash flow, equipment, inventory, things that maintain value regardless of monetary system. The government can change the currency. They can't easily seize your house or your tractor. Hard assets survive monetary transitions. Fourth, have an exit strategy. If you're wealthy enough, consider second residency or citizenship. If U.S. monetary system collapses or becomes oppressive, having options outside U.S. jurisdiction protects wealth. This isn't for everyone, but if you have 1 million plus, it's worth considering. Swiss bank accounts, Singapore accounts, foreign real estate. Diversify geographically, not just financially. Fifth, stay informed and agile. Don't lock into a position and ignore. The currency war will evolve. Biden might abandon CBDC if political backlash is strong. Trump might reverse on crypto if Wall Street pressures him. You need to watch and adjust. Subscribe to channels that track monetary policy, not just stock picks. Sixth, prepare for chaos. Regardless of who wins, the transition will be volatile. Markets will swing wildly. Banks might close temporarily. Cash might become scarce. Have 3 to 6 months of expenses in physical cash at home. Have emergency food and supplies. This isn't prepper paranoia. This is recognizing that monetary transitions are chaotic. Being prepared lets you survive the chaos without forced selling at bad prices. Now let me end with this. The currency war between Biden and Trump isn't about personalities. It's about two fundamentally different visions for what money should be. Biden represents centralized control. Digital currency issued by the Fed, tracked by government, programmable to enforce policy. This maximizes government power. It eliminates tax evasion, underground economy, financial privacy. It allows direct wealth transfers, stimulus checks deposited instantly, taxes deducted automatically. It's efficient, it's modern, and it's totalitarian. Trump represents decentralized alternatives. Gold, Bitcoin, competing currencies. This maximizes individual freedom. You choose which money to use. Government can't track every transaction, can't freeze your Bitcoin, can't program your gold to expire. But it also limits government power. Can't print money to fund deficits, can't bail out banks easily, can't control the economy through monetary policy. It's chaotic, it's risky, and it's free. Both visions have costs and benefits. CBDC provides stability and government services, but kills freedom. Gold, crypto, provides freedom, but creates instability and limits government services. Neither is clearly better. The choice depends on your values. Do you trust government to use CBDC power benevolently? Or do you fear government will abuse that power? Do you want freedom even if it means volatility? Or do you want stability even if it means control? The election in 2024 decides which vision America pursues. But here's the reality. Regardless of who wins, the dollar as we've known it for 50 years is ending. The pure fiat system born in 1971, when Nixon ended gold backing, is collapsing under its own debt. The BRICS challenge is forcing change. America must either innovate with CBDC or return to hard money. Doing nothing means losing reserve currency status and economic collapse. The currency war is real. The stakes are your wealth, your freedom, your future. Biden versus Trump. CBDC versus gold/crypto. Centralization versus decentralization. The decision gets made in November, and the consequences last for decades. If this documentary showed you a conflict you didn't know existed, if you understand now that the next president will reshape the dollar using emergency powers you didn't know they had, then you need to subscribe to this channel. Because over the next 18 months, I'll track every move in the currency war, every executive order, every Fed decision, every CBDC development, every Trump policy announcement. You'll see the war unfold in real time, and you'll know how to position before each move. This is not financial advice. This is pattern recognition. Presidents control money through emergency powers. Roosevelt confiscated gold. Nixon ended gold backing. The next president will reshape the dollar again, CBDC or gold/crypto. The war has begun. The sides are chosen. Subscribe now because your money depends on knowing who wins. The currency war. Biden versus Trump. The battle for America's monetary future. And your wealth hangs in the balance.